Hey, Rob, knock, knock.
Who's there, Matt?
It's Dungeon Master of None.
It is Dungeon Master of None.
We're here. I've got some more. Let me see. Why can't you trust your party's gnome to pay for your magic items?
I don't know, Matt.
Because they're always a little short. Let me see if I can come up with another one. Why is the necromancer not have any friends?
I don't know, Matt.
Because he has resting lich face.
All right, that one's good.
All right. I better stop while I'm in head. Hello,
Matt.
Yes.
Matt.
Yes.
Why does the party rogue only speak common?
I don't know. Why do they only speak common?
Because thieves can't.
Oh,
Matt?
Oh, that was right there. All right. Do we have any listeners left? I don't know.
Yeah,
Let's
listen,
find out.
if anybody's still here, this is a fun bonus episode where we will be telling. This is all our stand-up material for our two-man show. Dungeon Master of None, observations from the world of wizardry and no. This we're gonna talk
What's the deal with adventurers' rations? Who are they trying to keep out of there?
Tieflings be going to the mall like this, but half-orcs be going to the mall like this. Anyway, yeah, we're gonna be talking about a thing that we did. Matt, hey, we did a thing.
Yeah, we did a thing. This is our first attempt at making a thing that people might actually want to pay a very small amount of money for. It's the Advanced Artificer, now available on the DM's Guild.
There will be a link in the description. And so in case you haven't heard us
Buy
talking...
Buy our book.
In case you haven't been paying attention or listened to us talk about it, this is similar to the Tome of the Pact or... actually, are there other things like this? I think the Tome of Pact is
the complete guide to fighters, or
that's right. There's a few like this. So we released
Sword and Fist from 3rd edition.
Yeah, there's a bunch of 3rd edition examples of this, but this is just a bunch of extra specializations and customization options and
character
spells and infusions for the Artificer, specifically for people who want to play an Artificer, people who want to build Artificer NPCs, a little extra juice and flavor if you happen to be running a Magitech or Steampunk or Eberron type campaign. And yeah, Matt, why did we do this specifically?
Well, I mean, I think it's just we have been talking about the Artificer, and we love that class so much that when they finally came out with something workable in 5th edition, we just wanted to sort of expand what was there so that players could make classes or characters that sort of went beyond the bounds of the very limited things that were given in the official Unearthed Arcana class. We just had all these ideas.
Matt and I have both been running games and playing in Eberron for so long, and we love this class, and we love the theme, and we love the ideas, and we just had like a bunch of stuff already, like just at the front of our minds. It was just really, really easy just to start hashing out a couple of new subclasses and work on some infusions and spells and homunculi options. Based on what was already there and, updates or changes to old spells or even some of our new things. But, we have been critical of all the number of subclasses and like homebrew classes because we think there's a lot of them. So we wanted to do something a little different, though we fell into the trap a bit of focusing on just the Artificer. But I think there's a lot there to work with.
Right. It has the potential to be just as fun or more fun than all the other 5th edition classes. And I think we've done a good job talking through this show on, for example, how we've designed a magic item or a new monster or a short adventure, right? We've done all those things. So do you want to like talk through how we designed character options?
And I want to, the purpose of this is just sort of like, it's a post-mortem. I want to talk about what we did well and what we could have done better and what I would do next time. If you're planning on doing your own homebrew content, either for put up somewhere on like a third-party site or just for your own use, hopefully we can give you just like a little bit of insight and you can learn from our mistakes. But how did we approach this? So I already had done some of this work.
I got some of my sheep knuckles bone dice from Central Asia, and I threw the oracle bones, and I just followed the I Ching where it led me.
Yeah.
That's how I wrote it.
I think the origin of this was that the Artificer came out and we talked about it on the pod, and then we just immediately identified some areas where we felt they hadn't gone too far enough. And there was more room for interesting and unique abilities.
Right, we immediately saw, they have one unique artificer spell. There should be a lot of those.
Yeah,
there should be a lot of infusions.
Right.
Some people don't like having pets.
Yeah,
not everyone should have the exact same pet. Right.
Yeah, I think those were the two things that got us started. Was one, there were like 6 infusions or something? So just a very like limited number of infusions included in the playtest, and then just one new artificer spell. And the balance was good on both the existing subclasses, but the flavor was a bit meh. And, not everybody wants a turret. So we started thinking about, if you don't want to...
My turret!
If you don't want like a homunculus who spits on people or an autocannon that stands next to you and shoots bolts, what would you have? What other types of artificers are out there in the lore or are, easy to make with existing rules? And then we just sort of started working from there.
And then we decided, okay, how do we like organize all this stuff? And we came up with, we've got all these alternate features. We both came up with a subclass that we really liked that expressed a part of the Artificer that you couldn't get from picking the existing Artificer specializations. Then we threw together a bunch of infusions and spells that did hopefully what we think are cool and unique things that create fun play.
Our guiding star for this was the Tome of the Pact, which was a much more robust supplement for the Warlock class. And that's like 50 pages long or something. We didn't want to do as much, and there really isn't as much to do, and we didn't lean quite as hard on flavor, which in future editions or future things we might. But
speaking of the Tome of the Pack, the author Alex, future guest on this show.
Future guest on the show. See, that was our model. Was a very cool tool for people who are excited about the Artificer, who want to create a more interesting PC or have more options. And also, I as somebody who have run games in Eberron a lot, would love, did a lot of this on my own to start thinking about how do I make more interesting NPCs and enemies, allies and foes alike. And if you're playing in Eberron or any sort of game that's got, higher, magic technology levels, you're probably going to have a lot of artificers running around, and they're not all going to be the same type. So that was sort of the intent behind this.
I would say the other like big picture design thing is that it's possible, but I think it's really hard to design things by yourself, right?
Yeah.
You can come up with something by yourself, but until you have one or more other people look at it and give you some kind of feedback, you're never really sure whether it's good or not.
Yeah, I think there are some things that can be done by a solo creator, but with this type of homebrew stuff, it's just very easy to not see things. Matt and I both made some pretty exciting mistakes that neither of us noticed on our own and had to be made aware of by the other.
Okay, here's my. Can I share my favorite one of the mistakes we made? Okay, so we were working on a feature. Artificers are good at building things, And we wrote a ability that allows an artificer, if they can study an object, a magic item, a tool, a resource, and add it to their book, they can replicate that resource or magic item or tool at a reduced cost and using only half of the materials. and then we quickly noticed that this was basically an infinite wealth machine. That could consume the very multiverse itself, as artificers could replicate things with less materials.
Matt likes to call it an infinite wealth machine. I like to call it an inflation machine, an economy destroying machine. I like to think that as you created too many materials, you would just sort of like shift the entire economic function of the world before you created infinite wealth. But it was a glaring oversight.
There you go. Back with some labor theory of value again. But if you look at the intrinsic value of the object,
exactly.
if we fetishize it, for example.
Furthermore, the rules as written, 1 gold per.
Yeah, be careful rules as writtening things. But that was fun. So we created an infinite wealth machine. We walked that back, and then we really focused on what makes fun things to play, I think.
Matt and I think we did a good job of not making anything too powerful. We erred on the side of less rather than more. The thing is, a pet is inherently more powerful than just about anything else. And so when we were creating new abilities and new features, just the fact that it wasn't a new, third, an extra body on the field with extra actions, meant that it was pretty easy to balance in terms of not breaking the game. Though we did... it was sort of like hard to find that perfect balance, and we may, we did not play test this as much as I would like. If we were going to do this again and had more lead up, I would like to get some play testers on board and, have them see if they can break it. But I'm fairly confident that we didn't do anything too awful.
No, I am too. I mean, I felt like we were under a lot of time pressure as the Artificer just came out, and we wanted to have something cool right away for people who were excited about the class.
And I agree with that decision. If you were going to do this on your own, well, I don't know. The thing is, I'm not sure how valuable playtesting is, to be honest, because plenty of existing wizards and third-party offerings have come out thoroughly playtested and still been broken in one way or another. There's, it may be that it takes a while for a particularly inventive or creative player to find that broken bit. So you should absolutely have as many eyes as possible on it as you can, because you just don't see things. But yeah, I'm not sure how much, it's going to matter that you put this in like a real play scenario, over and over again to find the flaws. I just not entirely certain that will actually help.
I think for character options, the value of playtest lies in the big picture of whether these things are useful or interesting to your character, not so much in whether they're balanced or not. Okay, Rob, why don't we go through what we put together and talk a little bit about the specifics? Again, if you want to follow along, you're welcome to follow the link in the description. Give us $2. And you can see what we're talking about as we go through it, or you can just look at the preview. No one has to buy our stuff, but buy our stuff. Okay. So the Advanced Artificer. There's a beautifully written micro story here at the beginning. I think Rob, it was about 50-50. Rob wrote about 498 words. I wrote 2.
This is actually an interesting point, is that if you're going to do this and you have multiple people on board, find out what everyone's excited about and what everyone's good at, and play to those strengths. I wrote a little micro story, which was fun and easy for me, and Matt wrote a bunch of homunculuses, which I didn't care about.
But your micro story is fun. I think having like short fiction in a role-playing game book, and lots of systems do that. Like Vampire the Masquerade is notorious for like having every rule section starts with a 20-page story.
Shadowrun has this too, and I think that if you're gonna do a homebrew, you should have some flavor. We did not put as much in as I would like, and part of this. So here's a lesson for you: be careful about starting a new job, right? When you need to, you're on a time crunch to put out a book on time. But have some flavor, and you don't have to be like a brilliant writer or anything. Just come up with a fun idea, fun scenario, describe some things, lean on your DM skills. So yeah, we start with a little like micro story about artificers, and then what's our
right? It really sets the tone of like, oh, what can artificers do, or why are they interesting, or crazy, or scary, or fun, right?
Exactly.
And it does two things, right? It sets a tone, and it piques people's interest.
Right.
Okay.
So what's our first like actual mechanical section?
Right, we talk about homunculi, and if you haven't read the Unearthed Artificer or Unearthed Arcana Artificer, right, artificers get homunculi, which are just little pets, creatures that they have created using alchemical materials and their own flesh and blood, and the default one only does one thing. It's a little bat humanoid person that flies around buffing things, and we thought, homunculi can be so much more. And there's all these different types of homunculi in older editions of the game. And so we drew on those and we came up with 4. A arbalester, right? A thing that's like a walking crossbow for players that just want to shoot things a lot and have that be the thing their homunculi can do. A docent for people who want intelligent homunculi that can, beep and whistle at them and provide them with information. An iron defender for people who want a robot dog who's maybe can back them up in melee combat a little bit better. And a shadow self, a sneaky homunculi for asshole players, as one of our reviewers put in there.
And the iron defender was a creature or feature from Eberron or something in 3.5.
This was in the Eberron campaign setting book, which we wondered about, and we found out that if you want to publish something on the DM's Guild, you are welcome to update things from older editions of the game. Didn't know that, thought we couldn't include it, but read the fine print and found out we could.
One of the things we learned is that DM's Guild is a bit more, I want to say generous, but the rules aren't quite as strict as I thought they would be. They have a lot of art from older editions, and you can update things, and so, have at it.
So what were your, to wrap up briefly talking about these new homunculi, what are your sort of favorite abilities that encourage fun play that we came up with on these?
Well, the reason we did this, and if you've listened to us, the drum I'm always banging is options are great, and having more options and more tools is better than being more powerful, and that's what I love about these homunculi. They give you, allow you to focus on a different aspect of your artificer or shore up weaknesses. I especially like the docent, because the docent allows you to learn things and add aid, and it's more of a utility homunculus.
Right.
And I love that. That's what when I think of an artificer, I'm thinking of a utility character, somebody who has a tool for everything and loves to find out stuff and knows a lot about a lot of things.
My favorite ability that we came up with for this one was you can have your docent analyze a creature and figure out its weaknesses and strengths, and it lets out little bursts of light communicating this to you. You have a little R2-D2 that only you can understand.
Yeah, little BB-8 that floats around and helps you with things.
My favorite is actually a really minor ability we came up with for the Arbalester. It has no extra real power or something, but it reads thus. False appearance. The Arbalester can fold up its legs and close its eyes on its turn. While the Arbalester remains motionless, is indistinguishable from a normal light crossbow. I just love the idea that, you carry around a crossbow like, 90% of adventurers do, but you can command it to unfold its legs, and now you have a little walking crossbow buddy with eyes that shoots people. It's great.
All right.
So we came up with pets, and we also were like, but we also hate pets. We love and hate pets.
Yeah.
So we got rid of pets too.
Yeah. We added two new options, and these are both based on either previous editions of the Artificer or related things. And the first, and I like this one a lot, is the Siege Staff, which is based on an item or specialization or several abilities from Eberron. The Artificers in Eberron have these Siege staves that allow them to, do
Right.
battlefield control.
And there's never been stats for this, but it's mentioned in one of Keith Baker's novels about Eberron. And so we were like, well, what would this look like? Well, it would make an artificer really good at, mass combat and smashing down doors and casting spells from afar. So we added in that kind of stuff.
So what I love about this is that it appears very powerful, but it's limited in use. Functionally, like, not as good as having, a little guy who runs around next to you and spits on people. But
or a
it
turret.
is, or a turret. But it is, as long as you have charges, very powerful and very. It's flashy and it has like large, interesting effects. I really like the siege staff. Practically, it's not going to get you as much mileage as most of the other things, which is what I liked about. I'm happy with the balance on this, I guess is what I'm saying, because it would have been hard. It is hard to like make something this interesting and powerful without making it overpowered. But I think that this is if you're looking for an artificer with a lot more flash and bang but less staying power, the siege staff is awesome.
Yeah. And we did this kind of same thing with our second alternate feature. And a brief aside, I think alternate features are a thing that, really came into their own with the Pathfinder rule set. And I know 5th edition probably wants to avoid them because it makes things very fiddly and stuff like that. But from players who really like customizing their characters, it's a really easy design space to work with, despite not being really part of the core 5th edition rules. So for the alchemist, we came up with alchemical creations, right? To replace a homunculus. So instead of having a little buddy, you can, make on the fly alchemical fire, tanglefoot bags, thunderstones. And we drew here upon an earlier iteration of the artificer, plus all the alchemical stuff in 3rd edition that wasn't always present in 5th edition.
So I'll be honest, this isn't like particularly exciting to me, but it is something that I felt was missing, and I don't know why they left this out of the most recent edition.
Right. So if you have an alchemist, you would expect them to be able to make potions.
Do alchemy. Yeah.
Yes.
So
we added that in.
it's not gonna knock your socks off, but if you want to be a person who makes potions and salves and things like that, this is the thing for you. And there's some really neat abilities here and some cool things that you can do. But yeah, I don't know why they left this out in the first place. It seems weird.
All right. Next, we came up with 2 subclasses, right? We were initially sort of staying away from the idea of coming up with subclasses, but it's just so easy and fun. And I think Rob and I both had an idea for a really flavorful, distinct subclass.
Yeah. This was fun, but it was also far and away the most challenging and most time-consuming part of this. And I don't regret doing it, and I'm glad that we did, but you are going to run into trouble here for sure. This is gonna be your biggest challenge. So we had initially, I don't know, a bunch of different vague ideas.
We had like 6, I think.
And we had, eventually, we didn't ever intend to do 6, but like, the ideas kept on like hopping and dropping, and we had like, eventually the only 2 that like really like coalesced were the Arcanist and the Warsmith. We still have a bunch of other ideas, and we're hoping to hammer out at least 2 other specializations for a bunch of our other ideas, but the Arcanist and the Warsmith came together both thematically and mechanically. That's the real challenge here, is to make sure that you have a subclass that has both a theme and like mechanically makes sense.
We had more ones that had mechanical ideas and more ones that had thematic ideas, but these were the only 2 where the 2 things lined up. I think that's a good way of putting it. You did most of the heavy lifting on the first subclass, the Arcanist. What was your big flavor central theme for that?
Yeah, so I was thinking about the mystic, esoteric part of alchemy, all the like weird symbols and the rituals and the the theurgy, that sort of Hohenheim and Sendivogius stuff from the 15th and 16th century. God really like getting down to the nitty gritty of like how magic works and how the world works, and getting a little weird with it. And this was pretty hard.
This is a subclass for people. If you can't name the 10 Kabbalist emanations of the divine, right, yeah. You shouldn't play this one.
You shouldn't play it. Yeah, listen. If you don't know, if you can't, excuse me. Listen, if you can't align the 12 different alchemical processes to their astrological signs, then don't even bother.
What are the 5 fucking colors of a magnum opus, Rob? You better know that if you're playing this class.
Yeah. So, but it was also I wanted a class that was, the thing is, the Arcanist is explicitly less powerful. There's like no way you can argue that this is too powerful. But I wanted to give it a lot of options. A lot of options about learning things. A lot of options about affecting gameplay.
This is the nerd artificer.
Yeah, I wanted it to be sort of like a buffing and debuffing class, and it's a little bit of that. It's hard to like do that in 5th edition, to be honest. So I didn't really like hit that as hard as I wanted. But
it's also like a really pro-information kind of class.
So the more you can plan, the more you know, the better your Arcanist will be. There's a lot of abilities. They get more infusions than any other subclass, and they can use.
Right.
Do
they
more
double
things
down on. So one thing you can do with a specialty is double down on one type of feature from the class, and this one, like for example, the thief doubles down on cunning action, right?
Right.
The Arcanist doubles down on infusions, and even gets an uber super of infusion eventually.
So that's basically the idea behind it. There's also an ability to really like learn a lot about an item best used on magical items. This is pretty hard to balance, as we've talked about before, because the game does not explicitly, plan around magic items the way previous editions did. So, but if you're playing an artificer, you're probably going to be in a relatively high magic campaign, so it should work. I'm very happy with the Arcanist. It is probably more complicated to play than other subclasses, but I think that for somebody who really wants to dig into the infusions and play a more support and information gathering type Artificer, it's definitely a lot of fun. I would play this, which is why I built this subclass.
I would play this too. Here's just to give our listeners a flavor of one of the special things. Arcanists get an expanded ritual book, and here's my favorite ability that we've given them. Ritual Mastery. At 14th level, you may cast any ritual in your ritual book as a bonus action. This ability cannot be used again until you've completed a long rest. You must still provide any material components for the ritual. Boom. Simple rules, something that no one else can do, and really draws on this theme of preparation and versatility and knowledge. Love it.
Okay, what's our other subclass?
Okay, well, the other one that we've talked about that I have definitely had this type of artificer in my game before, which is an artificer that's like, all right, I'm going to charge up my weapon and, stick it through the 5 enemy soldiers next to me. An artificer that ties to the themes of war and battle and the front lines and the last war. This is the Warsmith. An artificer that, instead of focusing on rituals and knowledge, focuses on one specific type of magic items, weapons.
This was something that you could do pretty easily in Eberron or 3.5, and it was difficult to get the balance right, but it wasn't too difficult to come up. In fact, this is the only thing we made that was actually overpowered when we first finished. It was more difficult to reject ideas and cut things from this one than it was to build in the first place. But I think I'm pretty happy with where it is. It has all of the fun tools of an artificer, but it lets you get up in people's faces and hit them with your, magical staff, or, blast them with a wand or whatever.
A hammer with a fire elemental bonded to it, or,
good stuff.
Yeah, I think we found some really good art, and the DM's Guild has tons of art that you can use for your creation that, exemplify the ideas of each subclass, and that helps a lot. So we've incorporated your favorite first level spell, Shield, so you can get up there as a Warsmith and really handle the front lines. The key ability here is instead of really leaning into extra attacks as lots of other classes do. You can start putting cantrips in your weapon to do extra damage. Your weapon's super infused. We drew on a lot of things like the Hexblade and the Eldritch Knight. So there's a little bit of overlapping design space here, but this is so completely different, we don't think it's too much of a problem.
My favorite ability of the Warsmith, I mean, I'm in love with like the whole theme of this, and I would also play this, but I think my favorite ability is, I think it's just the it doesn't seem like a whole lot, but the stored cantrip, which is just like a core ability of the Iron Bond, and it has so much potential to do interesting things with. This is a combat focused Artificer, but it still has so many like tools at its disposal, which is why I like the Artificer class and why I think this is so super cool.
I'm excited for the first person to play this class and decide that they can actually store light in their bonded weapon, and then to shoot someone with a crossbow, and it releases that cantrip on them so they can track someone using it. Or I'm excited for not only this is a very straightforward, you're better at fighting Artificer, but there's plenty of sneaky ways for a creative player to get really creative with this.
Yeah.
All right, we made up some infusions and spells. Let's talk about some examples of I think, well, let's just share our favorite infusion that we came up with.
Infusions was actually more challenging than we thought. We came up with a few, and I like all the ones we came up with, but it turns out that it was pretty difficult to come up with like a unique idea or design space that wasn't like easy to break. One that I really like is Object of Skill, which is exactly what it sounds like, an infusion that you give somebody that gives them a skill proficiency and fluency in language. And then at higher levels, they also gain expertise. It's simple, it's easy, it's awesome. I love it. It's my favorite.
It's perfect. I can imagine Artificer using this to make sure that, everyone attending the Duke's Ball is good at persuasion, or the one party member that's bad at stealth for a sneaky operation becomes better, or later on using it to really enhance a class or an ally that doesn't get a lot of skills, or even themselves, right? Artificer doesn't gain expertise with skills, only with tools. This is a way to expand that. My favorite, I think, is Bane Weapon. It's one of the higher level ones we came up with, but it leans into that. If an Artificer can find out that the next level of the dungeon is full of undead, that they can make an undead Bane weapon and allow their party to really do a little bit of extra hurt, right? It rewards players who do their homework and information gathering.
We also came up with a bunch of new spells, and I think there's probably even more room here, but we were trying to...
We tried to limit ourselves to a reasonable number of spells.
But my favorite is definitely Magecraft. I really like that. Artificer...
A core spell from Eberron 3rd edition. It defines the campaign setting.
Artificer, as written by wizards, really leans into tools. You use your tools as like a spellcasting focus, and you have to have them to do certain things, which is real wonky because tools are probably the thing that everybody understands the least in 5th edition, but that's okay. But it is weird. They don't have anything to like make them easier or better to use, which is what Magecraft does. And it's just that simple.
It's a ritual, and I could imagine basically anyone using this, right? Not just an Artificer, a wizard, or even a commoner who is, trying to enhance their creations.
A mage right?
A mage right.
Probably like, the one thing that a mage right can cast. Right. And it just gives you an extra D4 when you're using your tools, which is great, which is super, super useful. Simple, good to have, because it's a ritual, it makes sense in certain situations and not others. But yeah.
We came up with some other cool spells like Flying Weapon and Animate Armor that allow the Artificer to do what is in effect a little bit of summoning with some extra flavor added. My favorite spell is definitely Replicate spell, which attempts to recreate a fundamental thing from the Artificer of 3rd edition, which was trying to come up with a spell on the fly for any situation, right? And it's a little tricky, and it's one of those spells that has a chance for failure, but I think it's perfect for the Artificer's, utility belt Batman approach to the world.
And one interesting thing that we encountered when we were trying to do this is that we found one of the key abilities of the 3.5 Artificer was the ability to store spells. And this is an ability that Wizards gives Artificers in their newest playtest, but it's very limited and very high level. And I still haven't really figured out why they've gated that so high, but Matt and I tried to find a way to...
We work within the design space, but around.
But I'll say that we did pretty well, but we did not nail it. And that, I think, is just a function of Wizards rating this particular ability very, very high in terms of power. So I am happy with what we came up with, but that wasn't something I didn't expect when we started designing it.
No, me neither. But it was fun. It was a fun task to really try and tackle. And also, for every Discworld fan out there, we have Merrick's Faithful Luggage, which you can animate a chest to follow you around. And I have no idea why that isn't a spell already. So those are my favorites.
Yeah, that's a great one.
That's everything we have. It ended up being 22 pages. We taking a look at the big picture, right? I think we hit all the big blocks of character options, infusion spells, subclasses, alternate features, and flavor. I'm sure this will go through another iteration, and I think one of the things we encountered in the DM's Guild is it's super easy to update your document, right? I'm sure we're going to find something we want to change a little bit, and we can very easily and for free to people who have bought it, change out the PDF, and there's a new version.
Yeah, and we wanted to make sure that we released a finished product, but there's more that we want to do, and we are hoping to add on to it. I like that about DM's Guild, is that once you've purchased it, you can just push updates. If
it does well, we have promised to release 2 more subclasses and a few more infusions and spells that we were working on that we didn't quite finish. But we had enough of these already to release it. So hey, check out the Advanced Artificer, and if it does well, we will add to it for free. We've got 2 more cool ideas for subclasses: the Master Inventor and the Renegade. So if you want a Cyborg Artificer or an Iron Man Artificer, or a Gadgeteer Artificer, I should say, then we will make those.
In conclusion, buy our book.
Yeah, buy our book. Leave it a review.
Definitely leave it a review.
Click 5 stars.
Yeah, click that 5-star. I hope this was useful to you. If you have questions about the process, write to us, and we will respond. We've been meaning to do this forever, and I'm glad we finally got to it. It was fun and not super difficult.
It was not difficult at all. The system's really straightforward. DM's Guild does take a healthy chunk of your money, but it's pretty easy.
Matt and I are expecting to get rich off of this. We just, it's easier to get this out to people and present it professionally if you do something like this. We could keep slapping stuff up on our website all day, every day, but putting it up on DM's Guild sort of forced us to take it more seriously and
get rid of typos. Make it not look like a terrible Google document.
So I think there's a lot of benefit in that. And
I think we decide what to do next, and I think
we're
starting with something easy like character options helped us, right?
Yeah,
we're gonna do an adventure.
Yeah, we've got a one shot that is literally on the cusp of being finished. It just needs some tweaks. And art. But we're gonna release that for free soon.
For free? I thought we were gonna sell it, make some more dosh.
Or we'll release it for money. Whatever. We'll find
95 cents. We got to get the big bucks.
Got to get that big bucks. But yeah, we will be releasing that soon.
I feel like there's some weird Giffen gooding on the DM's Guild. I feel like if I see something or maybe inferior good, I'm forgetting my Econ 101. If you see something for 50 cents, you're like, this can't be worthwhile.
Yeah,
you see
that's
something
true.
for like $5, you're like, ooh, this must be a quality
if you're
product.
an economist who understands consumer behavior, please write us and tell us how much we should price our... Anyway, yeah, well, we'll find out about that later, but yeah, we're going to release something else, and then we got a bunch more things in the pipe that we're working on that would be great for DM's Guild. So if you like this, and I hope you do, stay tuned.
Yeah. And let us know what you thought of the Advanced Artificer. If you have suggestions or things you'd like to see or critiques, praise, leave it on the DM's Guild or write it right into us.
Yep. Thanks for listening, everybody.
All right. I got one more for you, Rob. Okay. Wait. Sorry. Let me pull up my notes. What's the, if you're a barbarian, what's the healthiest monster in the monster manual for you to eat?
I don't know that.
That's a green salad. A green salad, Rob.
Goodbye, everybody.
From beyond the mountains and stresses of the sea, dark horizons, black rumble with the voice of prophecy. We are standing steadfast.